The transfer window rumour mill is in full flow, and I'll break down the latest West Ham transfer news. We're going to start with the outs, just because essentially the outs are going to affect the ins apparently this summer. West Ham have reportedly got zero money to spend, and that David Moyes actually has to sell before he can bring his own players in. And the first departure possibility we're going to be talking about is Felipe Anderson, brought in for around about £42 million from Lazio 2 seasons ago. And unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out. You can see in the last couple of games that he's been completely frozen out the side, hasn't featured much. And I think that says a lot, that when you're in a relegation scrap, that one of your most expensive marquee signings at 42 million isn't getting any minutes on the pitch. And I think I've done like a West Ham tier list on my opinions on what players should they be sold, should they be kept. And I actually put Anderson in that he should be sold. I fully agree that he should be sold, because I believe that if West Ham are going to go away from this sort of phase where one season we're doing like we're 10th, next season we're in a relegation scrap, the next season we're 12th, the following season we're in a relegation scrap, I think we need to get rid of players such as Felipe Anderson, because of the fact they're so inconsistent. They have one or two good games out of 20. The only good game he's had this season is against Norwich at home, where he was absolutely phenomenal. But those games are so few and far between them, that you don't really know what, which Felipe Anderson is going to turn up. And I think if you look at last season, the first season that we actually brought in for 42 million, and you see all the pundits, Jamie Redknapp, Felipe Anderson's West Ham's best player, he could play for any top 6 club. But throughout the whole season, if you actually analyse the whole season, he only had 1 or 2 good months, and that was the November to December period where he scored a couple of very good goals, got a couple of assists. Throughout the rest of the time, he didn't do much on the ball. He didn't do much. He didn't create. He just had that patch of games where he scored quite a few goals, got quite a lot of his assists. And then throughout his time for the rest of the season and before that little stint, he didn't do a lot. So how much do I believe we'll get for him? Well, we paid 42 million. I think if we get 25 million, I think we have to sell him, because some of the targets that I will be be talking about later in this video, we need to sort of sell. As I said, we need to sell before we can buy. And if we can get 25 million, I would happily sell Felipe Anderson, as long as we're able to get some of the targets that we are looking at. So the next player or big marquee signing that is going to be supposedly pushed out of the door is Andre Yarmolenko. And this one I'm actually generally pretty gutted about, because I feel like he's done okay since he's been at West Ham, but because he's always consistently injured, it's sort of hampered his time at West Ham. He's actually only started 15 games, 16 appearances off the bench, and he scored 6 goals. And a lot of his substitute appearances are like 10 minutes here, 5 minutes here. He doesn't really get half an hour to sort of come on, give his sort of say on the match and sort of give an impact. However, 6 goals in 15 starts isn't too bad. It's just over three games for every 1 goal. However, he's coming to that age now where he's sort of like 30. We did kind of buy him at sort of his really, really peak age. And of course, he's had 2 very big injuries for West Ham. So for the amount of wages we are paying him for only getting 15 starts out of 2 seasons isn't good. 7 starts roughly starts a season. So we should be selling him. How much do I believe we'll get for him because of his age, his injury record, and the amount of wages he's actually on? He's on probably over 100k a week. We'll probably get at a maximum 10 million, maybe 12 at an absolute push. And he'll probably end up going to somewhere like Germany, or maybe somewhere like Italy. Unfortunately, he's the one that I'm most gutted about out of Felipe Anderson, because if I felt that if Yarmolenko actually, started, and he didn't, started a lot more games than he has, and he wasn't injured as much, then he probably would have had a lot more impact on the first team in regards to goal output, in regards to assists. And I feel like Jared Bowen, the addition of Jared Bowen and how well he's actually done for West Ham, has sort of made David Moyes think, saying, I can afford to let Andre Yarmolenko go. Let's get into the possible incomings at West Ham United. And we have been linked with 2 high-profile Championship names in Ebereche Eze and Said Benrahma. Two players that, you know, have been linked with other Premier League clubs. I know Tottenham, Crystal Palace have both been linked with Eze, and Chelsea have been linked with Said Benrahma. So there is certainly competition in regards to possibly signing these players. We've been linked with Eze for around about 15 to 20 million pounds. But because of the current situation of the world, they reckon that QPR may accept closer to 15 million, because also apparently he doesn't really have left long on his contract. Said Benrahma, I feel like this transfer sort of depends on whether Brentford get promoted or not. Because if Brentford do not get promoted, the manager's already come out and admitted, saying that one of his front three, either Ollie Watkins and Mbeumo, I think it is, will leave the club. And it's probably more than likely going to be Benrahma, just because of the fact that he has as well been linked with Chelsea. Chelsea have been looking at him, and he has been dubbed the new Mahrez, obviously him being Algerian. So it does probably depend on whether Brentford get promoted. I don't see any kind of development on that story until we know whether Benrahma is going to be playing in the Championship next season, or if Brentford have been promoted. If Brentford do get promoted, I don't think it completely excludes the transfer from completely happening. I just think that if we was going to sign him, it may just add an extra 10 to 15 million on that price tag, because of the fact, of course, they want to keep him, because obviously they want to be fighting to stay up in the division. Going back to Eze, this is the transfer, if it happens, is probably going to be the most exciting for me personally, because having watched him a couple of times and having watched him against West Brom, I feel like he's exactly what West Ham need. His ability to drive with the ball from deep positions, you know, transitioning from defence to attack, is something that we certainly lack, especially in the midfield area. We do not really have someone who has the ability, you know, when we're getting sucked in deep into our own final third and we need to relieve some sort of pressure. We have it now with Jared Bryant on the wing, but I'm talking about directly through the centre of the pitch. Declan Rice obviously has the ability to run with the ball, you know, sort of relieve pressure, but you don't really want your CDM doing it. You want Declan Rice concentrating on progressing the ball when possible, winning his tackles, winning his headers. However, Soucek as well, you know, he's just more of a runner. He's more of, you know, he will be box to box, get into the opposition box. Can he score a header? Eze, though, is a little bit more technical. He's got a little bit, you know, low centre of gravity. Very good when it comes to progressing the ball, off the ball movement, and just in general, his final third play is very, very good. And if we can sign him, especially for the fee that's being reported around about 15 to 20 million, Benrahma would be a little bit more expensive. Apparently links to about 30 to 40 million is what Brentford will be asking for, which I think you could probably get down to around about 25 million if Brentford do not get promoted. So hopefully one of those transfers will come in, because Benrahma could be a massive replacement for Anderson. However, we do have Dean Garner coming back from West Brom, but there's also links that West Brom do want to sign him permanently for £20 million. So that's going to be interesting to see how that story progresses and if he does actually start West Ham. David Moyes apparently does want to keep him. But however, Eze looks like the one, for me anyway, that I really want West Ham to get over the line. And also, guys, if you haven't already, go and watch the tier list video that I created a couple of days ago. Essentially just gives my opinion on the current West Ham squad and whether they should be bought or should be kept or should they be sold. So anyway, that's going to be the end of the video. I'll see you later.